This is the Nothing Phone 2, which has got its hardware and software revamped. But what are these changes and doesn't it look the same? So the new experience starts with the unboxing process. While you still need to tear off the tab, instead of slotting the phone into pockets in the box previously, there's another white box that reveals everything in a nicely arranged manner. And yes, it did satisfy the mid-level OCD part of me. And here's where there are the brand new USB-C to USB-C Nothing braided cable. And yes, this is a similar Nothing cable that Carl Pei and team has previously teased. Then there's the unique SIM ejector tool, the safety and the warranty information booklet, and the phone itself. Now, speaking of the design, the significant changes of the hardware are at the back. There's a subtle curve at the top of each side, which is an adjustment that seems minor, but in reality, it changes the way the phone feels in your hand. Now, it does feel like it's literally blending in your hands, which Nothing calls this the pillow glass. And yes, it does feel like a pillow for your hands, as it makes it feel like your phone and your hand were meant for each other, and it doesn't wobble when typing the phone on the surface. So yes, overall it does feel better than holding the previous iteration, and it doesn't give that sharp edge feeling like I'm being stabbed by my phone, like how an iPhone could feel without a phone case. And I'm so glad that Nothing didn't make the whole phone curved as how the rumors mentioned, so phew, thank God for that. Then the glyph lighting has been upgraded to a total of 33 individual zones. And while some may argue that this is not so important, well, besides making the Nothing phone unique, Nothing is encouraging us to communicate with the phone with the screen down. And to be honest, at first I felt like that was something that I couldn't get used to, but after using this daily, I could dig this. So the newly added features for the glyph lighting are the glyph timer to easily visualize a timer countdown with the face down. Then there's the glyph composer to create your very own glyph animations and sound, where there are a total of 10 brand new ringtones and notification sounds. Then there's new essential glyph notification like other third-party integration like ride-hailing, food delivery and more coming soon. Then there's the Glyph Torch, which is an easier way to turn on the glyph lights without opening the camera app, which you can find by touching and holding the torch button. Then the lighting is more diffused in the glass to ensure that it doesn't blind you when you gaze at the lights. So yeah, there's a lot of newly added features where overall it feels like a secret language but only cooler. Next, the display is a bigger 6.7-inch flexible LTPO OLED with a 120Hz adaptive refresh rate. Now, since it is an LTPO panel, so it goes from 1Hz to 120Hz dynamically based on what exactly you're doing on your phone screen to save on battery and also for the overall daily scrolling. And if you're wondering why in the hell does it need a flexible OLED screen? Well, because of Nothing wanting to create a uniform bezels, which other Android smartphones didn't even bother doing so because of its higher cost to achieve that. Now on to the punch hole camera. It has taken a vacation from the side of the screen and decided to camp right in the middle. Now this minor tweak significantly enhanced the video viewing experience and makes the daily phone usage a pleasure. And yes, it qualifies to be one of the finest smartphone screens in the league. Now, I did play several games just to test this out further, and I experienced no screen tearing or any other screen issues because the high refresh rate has made the whole entire experience smooth sailing all the way. Now, continuing to the hardware, the cameras have been improved with a 50-megapixel f1.88 aperture that uses an IMX890 sensor with OIS and another 50-megapixel f2.2 aperture JN1 sensor ultra-wide lens. Now, based on some of my camera sample shots, I can already see a huge improvements on these lenses. Now, selfie photos was also really great thanks to its 32-megapixel f2.45 aperture IMX615 sensor, and it can record up to 4K 60 frames per second for the rear, but unfortunately it can only record up to 1080p 60 frames per second for the front camera. And stay tuned for my in-depth review to test these cameras out further. Then the battery capacity has been increased to a 4700 milliamps with a 45 watt wire charging, 15 watts Qi wireless charging and 5 watts of reverse wireless charging. Now battery life has been great so far, but allow me to fully experience the battery consumption and of course the screen on time further, which I'll report back in my full video review. Now, since Carl Pei and the entire Nothing team has always prioritized on the software experience, well, the new Nothing Phone 2 has plenty of software upgrades on its Nothing OS 2.0. Now, firstly, the phone is more optimized for a faster and smoother user experience. Opening apps are faster and even the camera shutter button is significantly quick too. Now, besides the hardware and the software experience of the Glyph interface as mentioned earlier, there's a brand new Nothing widget system which is fully customizable and fully interactive as well. So whether or not it's for weather, that rhyme too. So whether or not it's for the weather widget, a favorite photo widget or a media player, you can fully interact with them. And the monochrome theme is so aesthetically pleasing, it practically screams Adam Lovo! Yes, I know the phone is not specifically built for me, but if you have a soft spot for this kind of color theme, prepare to get your heart to skip a beat. And also worth mentioning is that nothing guarantees 3 years of OS upgrades and 4 years of security patches, so that was really great to know. So if you guys are enjoying this hands-on video so far, a thumbs up would be very much appreciated, and subscribe to the channel too, as I'm planning to do an in-depth comparison video between this and the Nothing Phone 1. Meanwhile, you can also join our Discord channel to discuss with other fellow tech nerds and also me about the phone. And if you like reading, there's also a written version of this review on our website at www.adamlovo.tv. Now you're looking at the other specs. It uses the Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1 chipset, and if you're wondering why is not using Gen 2 instead of Gen 1, well, Nothing and CarPlay has always prioritized on software stability, not on knocking the phone. Well, Nothing has prioritized on software stability, hence using the Gen 1 instead of Gen 2, and is also the best in class when it comes to power consumption and heat management, and overall a way better price point. Because keep in mind that compared to last year's model and most mid-range Android smartphones, this is indeed a huge upgrade. It is also IP58 rated, has dual SIM card slots, great pair of stereo speakers and 3 high-definition mics when calling, because ultimately that is important, right? Because in the end of the day, this is still a phone, right? Now, stay tuned for the variants and the price announcements here in Malaysia, as it's going to be launched officially on the 14th of July, and there'll also be a drop at Crossover in Mid Valley, so check out that info in the description, especially on how you can get a complimentary 5G SIM card from Yes, and yes, the Nothing Phone 2 has 5G connectivity as well. But as of now, the price in the US for the 8 plus 128GB will be at $599 USD, the 12 plus 256 variant at $699 USD, and the 12 plus 512 variant will be priced at $799 USD. So could the Malaysian price beat the US price or even globally? Well, we have to wait and see, so don't forget to subscribe to find out.